And a good turnout was also that our next speaker, who will come on stage pretty soon, teamed up with friends 5 years ago and founded a company named RobCo. Our speaker was born in Hamburg, but he's happily living in Munich. This is where his peer group is and where his other co-founders are. It's a combination of AI, robotics, and automation, and that changes industries. So RobCo is in the center of all that, joining and shaping all of this. RobCo was founded, as said, 5 years ago, and meanwhile they have 150 employees. They are based more or less in the center of Munich, a house full of laboratory, shop floor, production line, office, engineering, so pretty cool. Paul has held, since they started, various positions, including mechatronic development and head of robot engineering. Now he's focusing on the customer value, and he's responsible for the technical planning of customer-specific automation solutions. They're hiring, by the way, because there is plenty of customers needing more solutions. So let's hear how they are solving those challenges and how they are coping with the challenges given. Please give a big round of applause to Paul Maroldt.
Yeah, thank you very much. Love it to be here. Thanks for being part of it. And yeah, looking forward to also all the discussions coming forward. So yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of RobCo. Maybe the other one. Of RobCo, the robotic company which is centered around software and AI. And I believe, hopefully as pretty much every one of you, we believe that in the future, everything that moves will at some point be robotic, be controlled by software, and AI, and yeah, help us grow our economies, grow in what we are and what we do. And at RobCo, our claim is that we want to automate the ordinary so humans can do the extraordinary. So yeah. From that point on, we were founded 5 years ago, 2020, in Munich as a spin-off of Technical University of Munich. Had quite a roller coaster ride from there all the way to where we are now. Quite some changes in focus and things. And just a couple of weeks ago, we actually opened our first office in the USA in San Francisco. And with that, there was a bit of the question mark of us, how ready are we for automation in Germany? How ready are we for automation in the US? How does it compare? How do we have to maybe adapt our approaches, our go-to-market approaches to the different different countries, to the different cultures, to the different industries? And because we didn't find quite a current setup of data there, we actually asked Sapio to conduct a study for us and with us, and had this done and call it the Automation Readiness Index for Germany and the US. And today I want to talk to you about this Automation Readiness Index, talk a bit about it, kind of the results which we see of it. Some are surprising, some are less surprising, and also a bit how RobCo, how we take this, how we think that we want to tackle the challenges on how, why, and where. So for the Automation Readiness Index, a study which Sapio conducted for us in the US and in Germany, we asked altogether more than 650 decision makers across different areas, across different company sizes, across different business sectors. This gives you a bit of an overview on the setup of who we asked. So this is not a representation on kind of how many decision makers companies are there in respect to the size of company or to this size of business sector, but this is how many we asked from, and it turned out who gave us answers. And it shows us quite a differentiation, but also in Germany we found quite some more in the bigger companies in the US, quite some more in the smaller companies, which might also be a bit of an indication on why the results turn out how they turn out. And regarding business sectors in Germany, pretty much manufacturing, quite a bit automotive, of course, food industry, the three biggest one, which there are in the US. Actually, construction engineering was the biggest sector where we found people to ask. Manufacturing as well, which is very important for us ourselves at RobCo, since we're mostly actually in manufacturing, food care, and food production. And maybe not so much surprising, both countries really face labor shortage. That's been for quite some time. So we found that 3.8 actually million additional manufacturing roles will be needed in the US until 2033, and that there's about 1.9 or so, almost 2 million of these jobs being at risk to be unfilled. And of course, all of this is also driven by the current political situation of reshoring there. Of course, reshoring also happening in Europe. Similar in Germany, actually, 52% decide that skilled labor shortage is their main driver, and also 50% highlight the uncertainty. In Germany, one thing which we realized also kind of on our day-to-day business, on how we feel when interacting with customers, but which is really a really positive thing, is that automation is by now really seen as a solution and not as a threat. When we 5 years ago started building automation solutions, went onto shop floors, there were often these little awkward views, sides from the workforce on the shop floor. Are these guys here to take our jobs? Are these guys, what are they actually going to doing? Where will I be if they go out successfully out of this meeting, out of this area? And this totally turned in our experience, and also these numbers show this. So by now, when we're on a shop floor, if we go there, there's actually everyone, of course, decision makers, all the way down to people from the shop floor being there. Okay, please help us automate this. We need to get this done. We are full of work. We need to get time off our hands. We don't want to do this certain job anymore. It's tedious. It doesn't help us generate value in how we want to generate value. So this is really something very positive, which also shows in the data, and which we are really excited about, and which shows that I think every one of us here is in the right area of expertise right now to move forward. Very interesting as well, which we kind of figured when we went into the US as well, but also the numbers show that it seems that Germany is actually quite a bit further ahead of automation than the US actually is. So in the US, only 33% of the people we asked are already using robots. 44% though are testing and planning. In Germany, we already have almost half the people we asked using robots and automation. 26% are in the testing phase. And pretty interesting as well is kind of but it's also the reason why people consider and companies consider in automating in the US and in Germany, because that actually differs a bit. While in the US, most people gave as an answer that it's more about risk reduction, getting humans and human errors out of the loop. In Germany, the most pressing answer was cutting cost and getting a fast ROI, getting better and getting more effective in what's being done. One way or the other, number one barrier in the US is cost for automation. So 48% cited that there's the high investment costs are the problem, and 42% are actually considering as a service models to see that as a solution to that, not being in the capex, but more on the operational expense side. And that's similar in Germany here as well. 49% cited the high cost of investment as the main entrance barrier into it, and just about 29% said that there is no no suitable use case which could be found and identified within the company to actually do automation right now, even though they were pretty open and wanted to do automation. So factories lack the know-how, and now I want to get a bit into what RobCo does and how we think what the right answer to that might be. 27% cited the lack of internal know-how as a problem. We have, they expect additional challenges within Germany. And also in the US, that there's technical challenges, that there's challenges ahead. And we want to tackle that at RobCo with no-code, easy to use, and easy to manage robotics. And what that means, I'm going to go into a bit more in a second. Summarizing these findings, and of course the study you can also find on our website when you go into the resources tab. You can download the full thing with all the charts and all the background information on it as well. And you're really be happy for to see some of you having another look at it. So both the US and Germany have a strong intent to automate, but of course there's barriers. And the main ones is cost and skill gap. We got the USA with incentives of reshoring, the labor shortage. In Germany, more the focus on cost, it's overall higher maturity, and we see that the high cost, the high initial investment cost of CapEx models is being a burden or a problem for getting into automation. That's why some as a service, and actually robotics as a service might be the one of the keys to break down these barriers. And that's what we at RobCo want to do and are doing most of the time. That we actually sell our automation solutions, our end-to-end customer robotic sales as a service model, meaning getting it out of the CapEx into the OpEx area, and more being comparable to what a human worker would be like on the payslip. So got some more advantages. Pay only when the robots are running, of course. RobCo is then the one-stop shop as being the one solution provider for the whole thing. We're doing everything from the automation solution to the robotic system and all the software and AI in between, all that on a very fast deployment pipeline. And how we do that is centered about this software and AI. We started off as a bit of a robotics hardware company, pretty quickly figured out that that's not going to be the differentiator anymore, but the differentiator is going to come through the software, through the AI, through the usability, and AI is going to be a huge topic here in about, I think, half an hour or 2 hours on our round table again. So yeah, it's all about that we run things on digital twins, that we run path planning, we run AI-based computer vision models. We've got our modularity, which starts with our robotic system, but all the way extends to software, to our automation cells. And this allows us to cater a kind of quite huge amount of use cases and amount of the market. Getting this unique distribution and deployment motion using this robotics as a service model. And we usually summarize that with our own AAA rating, which we gave to us, which is being adaptable, being autonomous, and being affordable. So really kind of increasing the range of feasibly and economically feasible robotic solutions out there, and therefore driving down ROI for our customers. I want to leave you with a couple impressions on how and where we do that in real life, actually. So on the upper left one, you see kind of, the area around palletizing. Of course, palletizing, especially in food industry, it's a huge use case with. Actually, I was pretty surprised that it's so few, so much less automated so far than it actually could be. There's everything from food industry going through these lines, and then in the end there's coming the boxes, and there's people there stacking them on the pallets. So huge one there. With our modular approach, actually, and I think then one can see that a little bit, that there's 3 degrees of freedom robotic arms, 5, 6 degrees of freedom robotic arms. We can actually enable with our cells to build robotic solutions that really fit the customer needs. And in palletizing, that, for example, means we don't need to ship 6 degree of freedom robots. We just handle stuff in parallel to the ground. So we cut down on the cost of this robot and just ship them a 5 degree of freedom robot, which is much, also gets a higher payload. We got the lower left side where we have machine tending, also one of the first use cases we got in upper right one, machine tending for laser engraving machines. What you then see on the lower right is a bit more different tasks as well. We've got the one in the middle, which is a use case together with some partners at BMW for scanning crash test vehicles. We got the one on the very left, on the middle left one, which I'm always very excited to tell about because it really shows the modularity. It shows what RobCo can do. This is in a woodworking shop, and they have to dunk these wooden plates into some sort of liquid to coat them, and then hang them on these hangers, which is just a fun fact up there. That's actually mouse traps, and the customer was using mouse traps for all of their life. So we kept using mouse traps for this application as well. And what they do is they dunk them in, and they are pretty lightweight wooden planks. But since they're quite long, they needed a robot arm with quite some length and reach, which we were able to, through our modular system, through our adaptability, to provide and to adapt to that system. And the customer could get a really small, lean robotic arm with a low payload because they didn't need that, but a high reach, and went. And was able to not have to put a huge robot in there with a 2 meter reach, which was then be at 20, 30, 40 kilogram payload. And with that, it's our mission to get a RobCo into every factory, and happy to talk to you about we can achieve that and achieve that together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. A bold vision, but you never know.
Exactly.
Do we have any questions here in the audience for Paul? Yes.
Mine is, how many have you reached already from these companies?
Thanks for your information. Given your experiences, you have said that in some cases there is no business case behind the automation, or the customer doesn't see the business case, okay?
Yes.
What's your experience with high mix, low volume operations when it comes to automating? What have you done there? Any type of innovative solution for that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a very good one. So when we started off with RobCo, we had this idea, of course, with the modular robotic system. Okay, people, companies, customers go there. It's very easy to program. They just take it apart, put it together, and the next day reprogram it. In the end, we pretty quickly figured out that every customer of us runs on the motto of "don't change the running system," and it kind of makes sense. So these high mix, low volume things, I think all over the place, they are still a big hassle to automate. So what we usually do when we want to get in there, there's 2 paths in that. So there's the path which we are on, and I think which most of the industry is on right now, and where we're going to get at, and what we see with all the developments in physical AI, and actually kind of perception and understanding of the environment from the robotics side. On the more conservative side, on the side where we're in right now, what we do is we actually do try to cut down variances within the cells and the automation solutions we want to do. We then try to flexibilize the overall cell in terms of use computer vision, for example, instead of milled part presentation systems, which gives us an advantage of getting further in the value, getting into the value chain a little earlier than when a human has to take this part and stack them into a grid again. But also gives you the ability get different sizes, different shapes and things. And that's also a reason why we at RobCo then said, okay, for example, this computer vision system, that's a really value-generating part of it. We want to own it, and we built our own computer vision system to get it into the ecosystem and make it easy and adaptable for our users to use themselves as well. But it's still always a hurdle, and it's always a discussion to really say, yeah, what's going to be the set of parts to be automated and what might be out of scope.
Okay, I think we can do one more.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Question, do you see yourself more as a robot vendor, a robot manufacturer, or a system integrator? And are you acting mainly as robot as a service or both?
So we're acting mostly as robot as a service. And we really see also a shift there in that direction. So when we started off, there was quite some skepticism about paying something in this kind of model. We see more and more that there's more interest, actually, and active interest into that. And we see ourselves as an end-to-end robotic solution provider. So if you want to have just a robot from us, be my guest for sure. We won't turn you down. But in the end, what our business is, we want to automate the factory. We don't want to be the peripheral device in this cell or this cell, because that's not where the real customer value lives in. The real customer value is in actually providing an ROI to the manufacturers out there in getting something produced. And that's where we are, and that's how we understand ourselves.
Great. Thank you very much. Again, just with one eye on the time, I think we need to wrap it up there. But
Thank you very much.
You're going to be hanging around anyway.
Of course.
So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing where that mission will take you in the near future.
Great.
Thank you so much, Paul. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.